Başlıyorum. Merhaba değerli katılımcılar. Bir Profen Teknoloji Günlerinde yine sizlerle buluştuğumuz için mutluyuz. Ben Saadettin Avcılar. Yurt dışı tedarikçi ilişkileri görevini yürütüyorum. 3 senedir yapılmakta olan Profen Teknoloji Günlerinde Profen iletişim bünyesinde bulunan teknolojileri ve tedarikçilerimizin teknolojilerini katılımcılarımız ile paylaşarak ortak çalışma zemini bulmayı amaçlıyoruz. Bugünkü konuğumuz Novelsat firması ile 5G teknolojilerini kullanarak yapılan yayın dağıtım çözümleri ile ilgili bir oturum gerçekleştireceğiz. Oturumu Novelsat firmasından Aviv Ronay ve İzik Ezra sunacak. Ben önce bir iki kelime Profen'den bahsetmek istiyorum. Profen 27 yıl aşkın süredir haberleşme teknolojileri, savunma teknolojileri, teleport uydu hizmetleri, medya ve yayıncılık, EPC ve yaşam bilimleri sektörlerine ürün ve hizmet sunan global bir şirkettir. Merkezi İstanbul'da bulunan Profen, Ankara, Konya ve yurt dışında Bakü ve İngiltere ofisleri ile dünya çapında yenilikçi ve yüksek uydu haberleşme teknolojileri çözümleri sunmaktadır. Profen bünyesinde barındırdığı farklı grup şirketleri Profen İletişim, Profen Savunma, Profen Uydu Hizmetleri, Profen İnşaat, Profen UK ve Profen Yaşam Bilimleri ile ticari ürünlerden askeri projelere uzanan geniş bir sektör yelpazesinde uzmanlık ve bilgi sahibidir. Gerek yerel gerekse uluslararası uydu data trafiği için servis veren, Konya Teleportu'nda da ev sahipliği yapan uydu servisleri bölümü de grubumuz bünyesinde yer almaktadır. Sunumumuz İngilizce olacaktır. Kısa İngilizce açıklama sonrası sözü önce Novelsat firmasından Aviv Ronay'a vermek istiyorum. Welcome. We hope, dear participants, we are pleased to see you again in Profen TechDays. I'm Saadettin Avcılar. I'm in charge of overseas supplier relations. We hope that by sharing technologies from our suppliers at the Profen TechDays, which have been around for 3 years, we'll find common ground within the ecosystem. We are going to have a session with our guest, Novelsat, to discuss broadcasting distribution solutions using 5G technologies. Aviv Ronay and İzik Ezra will present the session. Hello, Aviv. Welcome to our webinar. It's over to you. Please tell our audience about your company and your new technologies.
Thank you very much. We are very honored to be here and to present as part of Profen Tech Days. I'm Aviv Ronay. I am the Chief Product and Marketing Officer for Novelsat. With me on this webinar is Itzik Ezra, Director of Product Management for our broadcast solutions, and Raz Ben Chaim, Director of Product Management for our broadband and 5G solution, as well as Mor Messing, our Marketing Manager. So thank you all for joining us. We will start with a very short overview of Novelsat, and then we will cover the solution of 5G, improving video delivery on mobile network with 5G. And then I will hand it over to Itzik Ezra to cover the broadcast solution and products, namely our Extreme, our Fusion, and our content protection solutions. So with that, I will start by sharing the screen and starting the presentation. So Novelsat is focused on delivering a new era of experiences. And we're doing that through our content connectivity solutions on the broadcast and broadband domain. We have solution that provides and cover different market and application on both of the broadcast and the broadband, typically over satellite, but not limited to in many of our solutions, especially for the broadcast. We also take advantage of terrestrial connectivity. On the broadcast side, we provide solutions for content distribution, content contribution, content delivery network, and outdoor broadcasting. On the broadband side, we provide solution for telecom applications like trunking and backhaul, and enterprise, premium enterprise and utility connectivity. We provide also solution to government and defense application, as well as to cloud and IoT. We have also solutions for Earth observation, providing the ground segment for major constellations. And we have a unique solution which integrates our capabilities from both the broadcast and the broadband domain, which we call 5G video. And our solution for all of these applications are intended for high volume and high value connectivity, providing solution where there's a need, like for high capacities of data or broadcast for these different applications. We have multiple customers all around the world for those products and solutions, both on the broadcast and the broadband domain and all the applications that I've mentioned, with hundreds of customers and thousands of installations worldwide. We have three major pillars of innovations in our product and solution. One is our software-defined radio, which supports both the standards for broadcast and broadband for satellite connectivity, which is DVB-S2 and DVB-S2X, but also, in addition to that, Novelsat unique waveform known as NS4, which provides higher performance transmission feature functionality, like better spectral efficiency, so you get more bit per hertz, as well as much better resiliency to interferences, whether intentional or unintentional. Alongside that, in our different product, as Itzik will deep dive and cover later, we have integrated cutting-edge video capabilities, namely encoding, decoding, transcoding, and multiplexing. And along that, we have also content protection solutions to secure and protect the content which is being delivered through the different networks. You can see here our entire product portfolio in this slide, both for the broadcast and the broadband. On the top row, you can see our major product, and as you can see, all those products are now built on a server-based architecture, which make it extremely flexible to add and introduce new functionalities and new features, as well as to maintain and support. The Novelsat Fusion is our broadcast and delivery platform, which we will cover, Itzik will cover soon, as well as our Novelsat Extreme, which is our multi-purpose video gateway. I will soon cover the Novelsat X Prime, our solution for 5G video delivery. And we also have solutions for broadband connectivity, such as we have our Novelsat XNet, which is a satellite hub for dynamic SCPC connectivity. We also have modems to work with these hubs, and we also have for the broadcast modulators and demodulators. And of course, this is all being managed by Novelsat NMS, and we have the content securities that we will cover as well, which are software-based products. With this, I will now move on to the first solutions that we will cover, and this is improving video delivery on mobile networks, 5G, but also 4G. Obviously, networks today would like to deliver the best user experience without network congestion. And this is exactly what our solution enables. Our solution enables to take the promise of the 5G to deliver media services, whether it's multi-channel TV or VOD content, to any user device which is connected to the cellular network. It could be a mobile smartphone, or it could be a TV at our living room connected through a 5G fixed wireless access. We're doing all that while mitigating the network congestion, which is generated by the video, and I'll explain that in the coming slide, and maximizing user experience both in quality and in latency. This issue of 5G TV, as those services are typically being called, is now in the focus of major stakeholders and players in the marketplace, starting from mobile operators who are looking to introduce new services which will generate additional revenues, And today, according to different researches, these kind of services, media services, 5G TV, on-demand content are at the top of the list of their plans. Broadcasters who are looking to take their content everywhere, utilizing the mobile networks and sometimes even replacing DTT or satellite as a preferred medium to deliver the content to each and every device that we have. And in many cases, our smartphones are today the first screen that we watch. And even Ericsson has recently done and issued out a report on what a survey actually they did, that they surveyed many people worldwide and asked them what services would they like to have on their mobiles, and what services are willing to pay for and how much they're willing to pay for. And those kind of 5G TV and media services and entertainment services were at the top of the list. And also they've highlighted that these kind of services goes perfectly hand in hand with fixed wireless access that can provide us, on top of broadband connectivity, also content. So what is our solution and what is the problems that we are solving? Our solution is an edge-based media distribution solution for mobile networks. And when we say edge, we actually mean deep edge or far edge. We take CDN functionality all the way down to the cell site. And we place this at the cell site in order to bring the video closer to users. Pioneering hybrid networks, which means they are connected both on terrestrial as well as can be with satellite connectivity to bring the content deeper into the network. The problem today with mobile networks is the videos that we watch is unicast. Each video stream that we consume today, even if we are all watching now the same game at the FIFA World Cup, each and every one of us, on the same network, even if we'll be at the same location, in the same room, we will still get dedicated bandwidth for each of our mobile device. So this is how the video works in a unicast manner from the source of the content, the video server outside of the mobile network, all the way to our screens. What happens when we start adding more and more users watching that content, network, and especially the backhaul network, start to get congested. This backhaul network was not designed for high volume of high quality video. And typically the backhaul connection to the cell sites are just only a few hundred megabit per second wide, which obviously if we look that we want to have even just HD quality, before even talking about 4K, we will need 4 or 5 megs for each screen. Multiply this by only a few tens or a couple of hundreds, and you very quickly run over your capacity at the backhaul. So what our streamers or players are doing in this case where the network gets congested, we start seeing the buffering effect where the video getting stuck, and we start into being throttled down to a lower video profiles, which means we get poor video quality at the end when the network is congested. Also, Qualcomm has highlighted, as they noticed this phenomena across the networks that they are testing, and they noted that today, in today's mobile networks, 96% of the videos are being throttled down to lower qualities, and only 4% of the video traffic is actually being kept as the original quality. So this phenomena of the networks, and today mobile network carry mostly video, about over 70% of the traffic in mobile networks is video today. So this is what happens to video today in the network. So we cannot guarantee a good service to the subscribers to be willing to pay for. Novelsat solution is a unique solution introducing at the far edge or deep edge of the network a unique functionality. We call these devices X prime, and we have X prime core at the core side and X prime edge at the edge side. of the network, where instead of doing unicast end-to-end, we are actually doing broadcast from the core to the edge and starting the unicast and the CDN from that point, from the cell site. Actually, we can place this functionality at any of the aggregation points along the way and do the broadcast up to that location. And as service and user take rate is expanding, we can push this functionality deeper and deeper into the network all the way to the cell site. And what is it exactly that we're doing? First, we take this content, which is high quality content, could be HD or could be 4K. We doing multi-channel transcoding, which means we take it to higher efficiency video coding, and we're sending from the core to the edge only a single copy of that content. So it will not run on multiple profiles or multiple time for multiple users. We will just deliver to the edge a single copy of the best quality. Then at the edge, we will take this copy as a high quality content and will generate all the video profiles which are needed for streaming. So we're doing a multicast ABR transcoding. On top of that, we're also doing packaging for the different screen sizes that the users may have. And we also have here the edge caching to store both the live and the on-demand content and the origin functionality in order to deliver this content to each of these players. By this, we actually introduced into the edge the capability to receive the content either through the existing terrestrial connection, but now it will be far less capacity required to deliver only a single copy of each channel, or we can do it over satellite, bypassing the backhaul altogether and mitigating the congestion. And actually also freeing up this backhaul connection to serve other broadband services. So at the edge of the network, we now introduce two major functionalities. One is video-specific edge computing. We introduce here edge computing, which enable us to identify user requests for content, which can be now served and available locally at the edge of the network, as well as to integrate this content back into the network towards the users. So this is an edge computing functionality which we built, which is specifically for video distribution to the users and integration with the mobile networks. We're doing it in a way which is transparent to the user network. So the core of the network does not need to learn new entities within the network, and we're doing it fully transparent. And we also know how to deal with encoding or security measures that are implemented, if implemented, as a cellular network. On top of that, as said, we have here an all-in-one compact CDN. CDN typically is, you may be familiar with, something that's very large and expensive. So we cut it down to be at the size that fits the cell site. So the functionality now needs to serve not millions of users, just a few hundreds or a couple of thousand of users. So this is scaled down to a cell site level, but it's still doing all the functionality which is required for the processing, the transmission, the delivery, and the security, and all in one. And those two functionalities resides together on a single server that we place at this cell site, at the edge location of the cells. These solutions open the door to deliver many video services on the mobile network, from mobile video with 5G TV to each and every device that we have, but now we can guarantee that it will be at high quality because we are not getting into the backhaul congestion. Or also, if we want to deliver this to the residential users for loud screens at the living room or at any of the rooms, we would support this as well. We can also take the same technology with the edge computing and compact CDN into the stadiums. Like we see today in stadiums, more and more immersive fan experiences are being delivered to our mobile devices. So we actually sit in the stadium, one eye on the field, second eye on the screen, and we get additional information on this screen. We can now choose a camera angle. We can now zoom in to everywhere that we would like to see. We can do a personal replay and more see the different statistic and tracking of players and the ball and so on. Today, when we're doing that, the traffic, all this content that is being generated at the stadium need to traverse back and forth to the mobile core. We actually eliminate that, enabling to inject this directly to the cell sites that are using and covering this venue, this arena. So this can be another use case. And of course, also when we look into in-car entertainment, as our cars become more and more autonomous, driving themselves, we have more and more time to enjoy media services through the mobile networks. And this is, again, something that we would like to get at high quality and is connected to the mobile core, and we can support this as well with the exact same solution. So all these applications are the services that we are now enabling on mobile networks with 5G, but also with 4G. And the experiences that we enable and support with this kind of solution are both for live and on demand. The edge caching at the cell site is being used also to record and store the live content to a certain period of time. And then as user would like to do catch up, pause and play, they can do it without causing a unicast stream all the way to the core. And it can also store the most top watched titles, on-demand content. We can support very high volume of content delivery to the users and still guarantee, as said, the very high quality of experience, both in terms of video quality and latency. There are many business models for that, which we heard from multiple mobile operators and other players in the mobile networks, whether to provide and to live sport as a service, which will enjoy these merits, or to bundle and offer multi-channel TV, or just premium at a cost, or differentiated experiences like AR and VR that will start coming into play as well as part of the metaverse. And of course, all these video experiences are the best vehicles to carry advertising. The solution that we offer is a very flexible one, also in terms of its economics. It's enabling very low video delivery costs, as well as a gradual deployment per usage, where you can start with deploying this only at the aggregation location and only then install additional units all the way to the cell site. And it's very fast to deploy this kind of solution. No changes need to be made to the network other than installing this at the edge. This is easily being integrated. No changes are required as the user devices, unlike other solutions that require dual receivers now or specific modules of smartphones. No changes are needed at the core of the network. This is very easy to deploy and to integrate, very quick. This new solution, we already have the first pilot in the world with this kind of edge-based media delivery solution. This is a pilot we're currently conducting with Cellcom. Cellcom is Israel's largest mobile network operator. And what's nice about this pilot deployment is that Cellcom has a service called Cellcom TV, where they deliver exactly this live TV and VOD content to subscribers. However, today they are not doing it over their mobile network. Today they are doing it over the user's broadband connection, whether it's a fiber connection or a DSL connection or a cable connection. They can only support this service over broadband connection to guarantee the quality of the service. With our solution, we are showcasing that they can do the same over the mobile network without running into congestion. And at this pilot, we've installed 2 sites, one at next to the headquarters and a second further away in the midst of a city, where we showcase the delivery to both mobile over mobile network as well as the fixed wireless access flavor of the 5G to both live and on-demand content to any user device, from smartphones to TV sets. And the core to the edge connectivity, we're showcasing both over the terrestrial as well as using the satellite. We're partnering with SES to provide us the satellite connectivity for this pilot. So with this, after covering a little bit of Novelsat and the 5G video, I will now hand it over to Itzik to continue and present our solution for the broadcast, extreme fusion and content protection. Itzik.
Just reminder to audience, sorry, you can ask questions from our Q&A session. Sorularınızı soru cevap kısmından sorabilirsiniz. Yes, Ryan.
Correct. We will take a question through the Q&A tab, and at the end of the presentation, we'll be happy to address the questions that you will present. Itzik, the floor is yours.
So I'll take over.
Yes.
Share my screen. Let me know when you see my screen.
We see your screen. Go ahead.
Great. So good afternoon, everyone. Very excited to be here today and share with you some of the great technology that we have mainly for the broadcast market. Today, we're going to focus on 2 main products that we have, as Aviv mentioned before. The first one will be the Extreme, and the second will be what we call Fusion, which is a family of a few products. Basically, it's an all-in-one, but you're going to see in a second. So the Extreme is basically a multi-purpose gateway based on the server. We have decided to work with the HP company as our main server, but of course, since this is a pure software-based solution, it can work or run or any other type of compute environment that you have. As of now, we only provide it on this platform as a closed box in a way, but beside the piece of the technology that we introduce in for the specific spectrum that we have, it's a pure server that you can buy in any shop by yourself. The Extreme is basically 2 RU chassis that can hold up to 8 cards, and you're going to see in a second the mix and match and all the flexibility that it can introduce, mainly for the broadcast. That's mean a satellite receiver or a satellite distribution for modulators, for example. Extreme have the ability to support all the type of the popular spectrum that exists today, from DVB-S2 up to DVB-S2X, and of course the NS4, which is a proprietary spectrum that introduced by Novelsat. So only Novelsat can support this modulation type. And on top of that, we have a state-of-the-art management system that based on the web UI that manage the Extreme. And you're going to see in a few slides in the next few minutes how flex the system and how user-friendly it is. That means that any type of operators that not require the engineering skill will be able to operate the Extreme and do all the nice stuff that's required for a standard teleport needs. In the Extreme, we have an engine, which is a built-in analyzer in a way that's measuring all the type of transport stream according to the ETR 101. On top of that, we have the ability to support scrambling and descrambling, depends of the type of the RX or TX, of all the type of the BIS1 and 2, plus the BCA, the new introduction BCA that came to the market, I think, for the last maybe year and a half by EBU. It's coming to be more and more popular those days. So we do also support the BCA model. In the Extreme, we also have a multiplexing capabilities. And when I said a multiplexing, that's mean a full multiplexing capabilities with all the meaning, a full PSI-SI generation that you can take a multiple service from multiple input, combine them all together to a specific platform that goes to the output and vice versa to get a few SPTSs and combine them to an MPTS, or get an MPTS and do a service filtering for a single channels in case that you need to deliver a specific program to the output. Extreme have all the type of interfaces like IP or ASI. You can mix and match. It can accept or send to the output any type or mix of interfaces. Of course, you can also do a mirror, IP to ASI or ASI to IP. Beside that, we do support, of course, the Pro and Perfect, the standard according to the DVB standard, and what's called in the industry SMPT 2022.7, which is well known by Heatless Merge. In essence, this is a technology that allow you to do a packet reorganize on the input to get a seamless input redundancy between two different identical sources and send it over with zero errors to the output, to the last mile or the taker or whatever the delivery is being done. A few highlights about the Extreme. As I mentioned before, the Extreme is a 2RU platform chassis. It can, of course, come with a single or dual power supply, depends on the resilience that you're looking to achieve for your services. As a default, which is part of the server, we have a 4 built-in 1 or 10 GB IP interface that you can play with them and use whatever you want. For example, one for management, one for ingress, one for egress. Each one of them can work in a full duplex mode, so you can work on each one of the port for in and out. You can decide by yourself in terms of security to allocate specific port just for unicast internet purpose, or use it within your local LAN, or you can do whatever you want. Again, full flexibility. Extreme is also support on the transport level. Of course, the MPEG-2 standard transport stream, which is very popular in the industry. And on top of that, we do support a baseband frame and a raw data. That means that in essence, we can encapsulate any type of data into the Extreme and send it over to the satellite using one of the modulation that you decided on need to work with. You can mix and match between the interface card up to 8 cards. That means that you can get a card that doing modulation or demodulation, what you are familiar with in IRD, beside the part of the decoding. On top of that, you can have a card that will support ASI. Each card can support up to 4 different interface of IO ASI. So you can get any type of transport, send it over to the output on ASI, or get any type of source via ASI and send it over to another ASI or IP. Again, as you can see here, full flexibility. Modulation type, we already discussed about it. We are covering all the way from the standard DVB-S2 and DVB-S2X, and of course the NS4. That's also apply for the demodulator and modulator. Muxing capabilities, you're going to see in a second through the UI that we have, what you can do with the Extreme. Basically, any to any, you can filter specific elementary stream if you wish, or entire programs, send it over to the output, or any other processing on the TS level can be done via the Extreme. Of course, since we are Novelsat, so the Extreme is also support our unique solution, which is the Novelsat DRM, the digital rights management. It's a proprietary solution that based on the very strong encryption type on AES 256. Just as an example, a huge company that they're using this specific DRM to protect their content, EBU, I guess you are all familiar with. EBU using Novelsat DRM, that's mean without to have this specific devices made by Novelsat, you won't be able to receive or authorize to get the services. Beside this DRM solution, which is built in on the Extreme. And of course, the UI, which you're going to see in a second. How does it work? On the Extreme, of course, since we have, as I mentioned, up to 8 different interface that you can play around with in terms of modulator and demodulator, just imagine how powerful this box can be for acquisition. As an example, I need to downlink a few different transponders from a few different satellites to aggregate a full platform for OTT. I can use the Extreme with a different type of cards that we have that can give you the ability to downlink up to 4 different satellites on a different polarization for each one of the cards. So do the math, 4 times 8, that can give you up to 32 different transponders that can be downlinked into a single 2RU unit. Very powerful unit. Everything can be converted to IP, to your EDN, to your local LAN. So you will be able to take the services, do all the necessary manipulation only on the 2RU box. Of course, with the NS4 modulation, if required, that's an option. In an NS4, you will only get a single input for satellite for each one of the cards. So the limitation will be 4 downlink, assuming that you need or have the needs to use the NS4 modulation or the additional Novelsat technology, as I mentioned before, the DRM is an example, which usually come along with the NS4 modulation. Inside the Extreme, very simple, like any type of server, we have 2 different power supply in the middle, a very powerful network processor that basically take all the traffic that coming in and out, combine them together and send it to the relevant routing per the user defined. As I mentioned before, you can see we have 8 different modules that each one of them translate to IP in a way. As an example, I have a single transponder that been received from a satellite. The entire transport stream is being converted to IP and sent it over to the main module in the Extreme, which called the MUX. The MUX is basically extracting all the information, presenting to the user in a very convenient way for him to choose the specific program, PIDs, the entire transport, or any other type of combination within the transport stream, and send it over to another interface. So each one of these modules translate to a kind of a multicast, if you wish. So it's much more easier and give us the full flexibility to take it into the MOOCs and do all the required manipulation. As you can see on the left side, at this point, we do not support it yet, but very soon we are going to release another software version that will allow also to the Extreme to do a full decoding up to 4 channels in a HD 1080i. So the SDI is part of the interface that we are suggesting. It's not fully supported yet, but very soon we will be able to do up to 4 full decoding on a SDI embedded level from each one of the module in the Extreme. Stream redundancy, I'm not going to cover the entire, but as you can imagine, all the type of option exists on the Extreme. For example, I can do a input redundancy, a service redundancy, output redundancy, or even a module redundancy in case that they have a set of 1+1 received on module number 1 and module number 8. I can decide and choose that at any given time, each module will be the backup for the other one and vice versa. Of course, this comes with a specific triggers that defined by the user. In terms of performance, the Extreme can go with the IP level up to a bit more than 1 gigabit per second aggregated. Of course, the limitation is the throughput of the Extreme himself, but you need to keep in mind that there is also processing that's been done in the background that's very, very powerful for this such a unit. In terms of the modulator or demodulator card that we have, basically each one of them can process up to 80 mega symbol per second, which translates to approximately 425 megabit per second. Very high throughput. ASI is limited by the standard of the DVB. So of course, we are working according to the code. We do support up to 214 megabit per second. And all the type of combination that I mentioned before, IP to ASI, ASI to IP, and the managed DRM, which is done by Novelsat. Few more information about the interfaces that we can provide. The first one on the top, we have what we call the NS21 demodulator, which in essence, it's all the technology that has at Novelsat. We worked very hard for the last almost 3 years to convert this technology from the standard demodulator, the legacy boxes that we have in the market, to a form of a PCIe card. This card we are able now to install on a standard server, in this case, that's the Extreme, and provide you with the ability to get up to 8 demodulators that support all the way to NS4 modulation with all the good stuff that we have at Novelsat, the DRM, and the other type of encryption, for example, and the resiliency for interference and everything else that was covered by Aviv's session. The second card is the NS10, which is a modulator card. You can see the picture below, in the middle of the screen. It's doing the exact same, but this time we are taking a content, send it over to the satellite. Of course, the modulator can support again from the standard DVB-S all the way to a DVB-S to X and the NS4. We also have the ability to provide additional 4-port interface for ASI in and out. Okay, just bear in mind that if you decide to work on ASI, which is very rare, but some of the teleport in the world still work in ASI, and that's absolutely fine, you're gonna eat a specific slot from the server. So this will limit your ability to have 8 ports. Since we already utilize a single ASI card, we will be able to install additional 7 cards that can be a mix of modulators and demodulators, or only demodulators, for example, for a very, very powerful acquisition box. On top of that, we also have a specific card that know how to handle the traffic for what I mentioned before, the standard of the SMPTE 2022-7, which is the headless merge, seamless redundancy. So again, if you need this requirement, you can purchase in advance this specific card and get a standard traffic for unicast and multicast via the built-in Ethernet port as part of the server, and the additional traffic, which is supposed to be a seamless redundancy from 2 identical sources, utilizing this card, and get a very strong, powerful, and stable transport stream into the unit before the distribution. And of course, the built-in for up to 10 gig Ethernet port, which is part of the onboard on the Extreme himself. As part of the MOOCs, we also have the ability to filter in and remapping a single service from what we call MPTS, a multi-program transport stream, filter it out. Just imagine, for example, in the world of occasional use or sports and events, in case that you're getting a few different games in a MOOCs, which is very, very popular those days. Everybody trying to save on bandwidth. So all the industry is trying to combine more than a single feed on the same transport stream. From your perspective, the operator need to take a specific, I don't know, game with a Turkish language or something like that. You will be able to do this filtering on the Extreme, and if needed, even send it over to the satellite to be broadcast locally in your region. We discussed about the analysis that we are providing into the Extreme. This is a built-in into the software that we have for each one of the Extreme, a full ETR, which is a DVB compliance for measuring priority 1, 2, and 3 for any type of input transport stream. Okay, we are not measuring the output. The output obviously generated by the Extreme himself. So we are only listening or monitoring to the inbound transport stream coming via IP or ASI. You will get logs at any given time. We also have the ability to do a full PCR stamping to the transport on the output for each one of the services. And that's very crucial to deliver a standard transport stream to the output, to the affiliates without any errors, with the specific clock in time that match the transport stream according to the standard. Of course, this engine for the analysis work with any type of input and output, can be ASI, IP, or even our demodulator that translates, as I mentioned before, to an IP input. You will be able to monitor the entire transport stream and get the status and the indication of the errors, if any, in the stream itself. The Extreme is also, since we are talking about the server, it was pretty easy and very convenient to add the full so-called routing capabilities like any other router, which is a bit more than a standard switch capabilities. So we do support VLANs tagging and LACP. We also support teaming. That means that you will be able to combine any two types of interface into the Extreme and get a full redundancy that each one of them will transmit simultaneously to a different network switch. This way, you will be able to achieve a better redundancy level in case that you need, or in case that piece of the network will collapse. The Extreme will still be able to duplicate the same packets and send it over to the end user. SMPT 2022.7 seamless redundancy. We discussed about it in the past. Here is a very good example. I'm getting a content that transmits simultaneously on two different paths. For example, I have a main fiber and backup fiber. The Extreme will be able to take these two sources and do at any given time a listening to a specific packets. If something is bad in path one, it will try to recover the bad packets from the second path. If one of them will fail, still no issue on the output. The transport stream will be seamless to the output, fully transparent with zero issues. We do support this technology by inserting a specific IP card into the Extreme. You will be able to get this brilliant technology in case that you need, of course. Let's talk now about the management system of the Extreme. As I mentioned before, we work very hard to have a state-of-the-art web UI that will support all the good features that we have in the Extreme, and in the very near future, all the video capabilities that exist in the broadcast. For example, the UI, the current UI of the Extreme is also a UX, what gives you the ability as an operator to manage more than a single unit from the same UI. For example, I have 3 or 5 or 6 or endless different sites. One of them is primary, second is serving as a disaster recovery site. From a single unit, if I'm logging to the UI, assuming that they have a connectivity, I will be able to get a full indication of the status of the remote unit at any other site, and also to manage it from the exact same GUI, exact same UI. Of course, I also will be able to integrate all the alarms and the status from all the devices all together and consolidate the alarm to a single window that will present to the user the current status for all the network. The Extreme is fully support, of course, on a RESTful API and SNMP traps in case that you need northbound to another external NMS system, if you have that managing the entire network, or a MOM. This is also can be done via the Extreme. A few more windows that showing, for example, the capabilities that we have on the Extreme today. As you can see on the left side, we have all the inputs coming in case of interface via IP or ASI. You will see the physical interface, and below each one of this interface, the aggregated transport stream that coming in as a source in the input. In the middle, you will get a list for each one of the interface with a full transport stream analysis that was discovered by the powerful engine of the Extreme that will provide you a list with the full service name, assuming that we have a SDT description table in the transport stream, and analyze each one of the services and provide you all the relevant information in terms of PID's value, codec, etc. As I mentioned before, we recently introduced also the capabilities of a full multiplexing inside the Extreme. So now it's more than just a fully transparent decoder or receiver in and out. Now you are also able to process your own specific transport stream. As you can see, very intuitive. In the middle, I have the plus sign. All I have to do is just to click on it. I can see the services that running on the specific transport at any given time with a small thumbnail that obviously it's not a live, it's an iframe, but it will give you indication that something is running and the service is okay at any given time, along with the green bar that you have for on the left side for each one of the channels that give you a good indication of the healthiest of the service. Assuming that I would like to take some of the input sources that I have and build a new transport stream to be uplinked on the output, all I have to do is just to click on the plus button. There is a pop-up that will ask you basically a wizard to provide all the relevant information for the new transport stream. For example, a name can be anything, a nickname for you, so it will be easy for you to manage. A transport stream ID, a network name, network ID, very standard, and a bitrate. Assuming that I know what the bitrate will be on the other slot that I would like to go up to the satellite, I can set it here. If not, of course, this can be modified in the later stage. All I have to do now, once I set all these parameters, is click continue. The Extreme will open for me all the current relevant available sources that I have in the input. As you can see, mixed between ASI and ETH4 in this case. All I have to do is just to check the specific services that I would like to remap to the output. Once I decided what services I would like to pass to the output, I need to hit save. The Extreme will remap all the services to the output. And on the right side, you can see now that you also have the ability to edit each one of the services in terms of the service name. The Extreme is generating a new STT table that gives you the ability to set description as you wish for each one of the channel. Of course, to also change the service ID, which can be any number within the transport stream, the new one that you created. It will give you indication of the current bitrate, assuming that it's a CBR, constant bitrate, on the right side of each one of the channels. And on top of that, the aggregated transport stream for the entire MOX once you're done. Of course, you are able also to change the video feed, the audio feed, data feed, or any other information that requires on the transport stream. Once we did all this modification, I need to save it, and then the Extreme will ask me, what do you want to do with the transport stream that you just created? Of course, here I can send it over IP using a standard multicast. I can send it with the unicast. I can send it to another ASI card in order to get it on a coax on ASI mode, or I can utilize one of the cards that I already have in the Extreme to send it over directly to the satellite, one of the modulators. So here I can check the specific interface, send it over, it finished, and as you can see, we have a new transport stream that we just created to the output. On the output side, of course, you can see all the information that's relevant for the specific transport stream that you created. Of course, on top of that, you have the search that will give you the ability in case that you have, I don't know, hundreds of transport stream running in the output and you need to find a specific and you doesn't want to scroll down all the way to find it. There's also a search bar that will give you the ability to look for whatever transport stream you are looking. A few use cases as an example for the Extreme, just for you to better understand how powerful this unit. A multi-sat acquisition, I already mentioned it before. Just imagine that you have the needs to downlink a few different transponders from a few different satellites, place as many cards as you want into the Extreme, downlink all the relevant content that you wish, mix in the output, create a single transport stream, send it over to the end user, to the customer via IP or via ASI. In the very near future, we also going to introduce some more capabilities, which will be built-in part of the Extreme. I'm talking about a standard encapsulation that exists in the market, like Zixi, which is very popular, SRT, and some more. Okay, so just keep it in your back of your mind that we are going to improve this product on the daily basis, and over the time, all of our clients will get a software update to get all this beauty and the good capabilities that we are going to add in the near future. A second use case is a classic turnaround, very popular in teleport, in sports and events, in occasional use. As an example, I'm sitting somewhere in the field. I would like to receive a specific content and send it over without doing any type of manipulation in terms of encoding or transcoding to the satellite. I can do it with a single box. One card will downlink the feed, the other one will transmit the content to the satellite, and done and done. 0 point of failure, everything been done from the same UI, from the same box, with a single operator. Simple as that. The third and the last use case that we have is a multi-satellite distribution. As I mentioned before, all the type of interface are available in the Extreme. You can take any type of sources, VIP, ASI, or both, create your own transport stream, and go to a 2 or 4 or even up to 8 different satellites simultaneously in parallel, and serve all the regions, all the takers that need to get a specific content via a single box with a 2RU chassis. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. Bear in mind that everything that we have on the Extreme, including all the Novelsat technology, latest technology and capabilities, which is the full DRM and the NS4 technology. Beside that, we do support a backward compatibility for everything else that exists in the market. And that was everything about the Extreme. Again, I'm encourage you, in case that you have any question, feel free to type in the bottom of this on the QA section, and I will do my best to answer as much as I can by the end of this session. Now we are going to move to the second product.
Itzik, 1 second. We have one question about the Extreme. Does the multiplexing capabilities on the Extreme is default, or this is a paid feature? I know you've answered it before, but maybe you should sharpen it.
No, the multiplexing capabilities is part of the software that we are providing. That means that any type of customer that's going to purchase the Extreme, it will get the multiplexing capabilities built in as part of the product. It's not a license or a feature that we are charging more money for.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's proceed to the Fusion family. The reason that we call it Fusion family, and you're going to see in a second, basically the Fusion, it's very similar to the Extreme, but a bit more powerful to the world of the decoding, encoding, and transcoding. Okay, doing everything on the video processing, which cannot be done on the Extreme, and vice versa. The Extreme is basically divided to 3 different categories that each one of them have a different serve for a different requirement, of course. In the standard teleport, most probably you're going to see all the type of the Fusion and the Extreme. Let's go deep dive into it. And again, at any given time, feel free, ask question. I will be more than happy to answer. The first one on this family is what we call the all-in-one any-to-any Fusion. The Fusion is basically, again, a software-based solution, pure software-based solution that runs on a specific server. Here again, we decided to work with HP as our main platform. It's a 1RU server that can host up to 3 different cards. The limitation is because of the server himself, up to 3 different slots. The reason that I call this unit any-to-any is basically that the Fusion can do anything that you can imagine on the broadcast domain. That's me. Two different categories, the Fusion TX and the Fusion RX. The main reason that we decided to provide these categories to the Fusion is one of them, the TX, of course, doing transmission to the satellite, and the RX is as the ability to receive from the satellite. In the end of this presentation, you will see a different flavor for the Fusion that going to introduce these two capabilities, the RX and the TX, in a single unit. So just not to get confused, the TX is what we call the transmitter, which has the modulators, not necessarily, but usually with, and the RX is what you are familiar with in the market, is a IRD, integrated receiver decoder, that usually doing the demodulation part. Top to bottom, from the left side, you can see I can get any type of interface into the Fusion. It can be IP, can be SDI, ASI, even any type of OTT format like HTTP. It can be HLS, MPEG-, or Microsoft Smooth Streaming, you name it, whatever. I can also have a RF input in terms of the L-band downlink from a satellite, even a ZXI or SRT. All these type of input interface available out of the box into the Fusion. That's mean that any type of acquisition from what I just mentioned can be fed into the Fusion encoder/transcoder module. Once we got this transport stream, I can process it, encode or transcode any type of video stream, audio stream, or data stream. In the Fusion, we also have a small kind of multiplexing capabilities. It's not introduce a full multiplexing, very powerful like the Extreme, for example, but we do have the ability to filter services, remaxing and maxing, for example, SPTS to MPTSS merge, or vice versa, MPTSS in the input, filter to SPTSS to be sent to the output. All the goodies of Novelsat DRM, including all the type that BIS Mod 1, 2, BIS 1, 2, NCA exist. We do support in the Fusion, RX and TX. And lastly, we also have the modulator card that I showed before, which based on the NS10 card that can give you the ability to get a full encoder and modulator in a single box. So once we did all the processing that we did, here you can see a very good example how to save bandwidth on a satellite. The combination, for example, of the newest codec, the HEVC high efficiency video codec, plus the NS4 modulation can give you the max saving bitrate that you can on the satellite. Once the signal on the satellite, on the other side, we can get a second Fusion, which can serve as a RX. Of course, you have a NS20 demodulator card that can downlink any type of modulation. In our case, we're going to use an NS4 in order to receive the signal that we just processed. We can decrypt here the DRM that we use in order to protect the content, assuming that we have DRM. If we have other type of protection, like any type of BIS, we can do that as well. We do support it on the Fusion RX. We can take this content, transcode it to the output, to any type and format and codec that you wish, or we can just decode it to a baseband using SDI with embedded audio on the output. Of course, we have also, like in the TX unit, a remultiplexing that will give you the ability to filter a specific service and send it to the output with any type of interface utilizing IP or ASI or even HTTP that can be distributed to your OTT platform with a full packaging. Everything is built into the Fusion. So just imagine how powerful you can get any type of content via, let's assume, satellite. I can transcode it to a multi-bit rate up to a 5 profile per service. wrap it with a HLS package, and send it over to a CDN to be distributed. Okay, so far? So on the output, we have, again, all the type available, like linear, pass-through, OTT with ABR or MBR, which is the same in a way. I can also send the signal as is via SRT or ZXI. It's not required another piece of devices like a broadcaster or any other man in the middle. Everything is built in into the Fusion. Inside the Fusion, how does it work in essence? We have on the bottom all the type of the interfaces available in the Fusion. For example, IP can be served via the built-in interfaces that we have on the server. ASI, of course, we are using an ASI card for very well-known and popular market companies in the market that producing. We are not manufacturing the ASI card by ourselves, but we work with the state-of-the-art manufacturer in order to provide the interfaces to our clients to be used with the Fusion. Same apply for the SDI. We have the ability to provide a 4-port SDI or 8-port SDI, depends on your use, depends on the benchmark. Just remember, it's a software-based solution, so everything can be done with the limitation of the CPU, of course. I'm going to explain in a second what is the limitation. You can also get analog interfaces in terms of composite video, for example, or analog in terms of audio analog with XLR or whatever. That can be achieved with the external piece of embedder or de-embedder that can be translated to SDI embedded. But by default, the Fusion can accept any type of SDI embedded. Of course, the RF, which is the L-band in or out. Then we got the second layer, which is the processing that can modulate or demodulate the signal using the NS10 or NS20 cards from Novelsat. We have the muxin and the muxin capabilities. So we got the interface. We did what we want to do in terms of processing. Now we are going to another level, which is the content protection to handle the encryption or decryption in case of RX. We have the ability to support encryption on a level of a transport stream and also an elementary stream. That means at any given time, I can encrypt the entire transport, the entire payload, or I can choose a specific program or even only the audio on a specific service. Beside that, we have the processor, which is basically done the processing to each one of the elementary stream. It can be video, audio, or data. Of course, it can do encoding, assuming that we have a baseband feed into the Fusion, transport, any type of transport stream via IP or ASI, and decode. Once all of that is done, we have the last module, which is inside the Fusion, the transport part that processing the transport stream that can be delivered, of course, as the MPEG-2 transport stream via IP, ASI, or any other interface. We also have the ability to provide external PSI-SI generation to be added additional table to the stream if needed. We have the built-in engine that can wrap SRT and ZXI protocol to be sent over to the output. All the type of the popular OTT like HLS, Dash, and MSS. And we also support the not so stable, but still some people in the industry using this protocol, the RTMP. Okay, this also can be done using the Fusion. So that's basically what happened inside the Fusion, the belly of it. I'm going to share with you how does it look. As I mentioned before, full flexibilities, endless possibilities. You can decide by yourself and do whatever you want with this unit. Very powerful. The reason that we decide to categorize it to receive and transmit is because of it's easier to present to the end user, to the client, the capabilities in terms of modulator or demodulator. But again, as I mentioned, we have another box that can combine these two functionality to a single unit, and you're going to see in a second. In the Fusion, very similar to the Extreme, we are utilizing external card in order to provide all the relevant interfaces that need to be used in the broadcast area. The NS21, which is the demodulator card, it's again PCIe cards that we are installing in the back of the Fusion. If required, it's not necessarily. You can decide yourself that you need only a decoder, for example, or only an encoder, for example, or only a transcoder that work with IP in and IP out, which is absolutely fine. Okay, that's an option, a module that you can add at any given time to change it from a receiver and decoder to an integrated receiver and decoder with the demodulator part. Below that, you can see the NS10 modulator card. The type of the SDI interface that we are using, again, can be 4-port or 8 ports. Most of the cards that we are providing today have a DIN type plug in the back. So this gives you more room to add more interfaces on the card comparing to the standard BNC connectors. We also have the ability to provide the Fusion with external GPU, which is basically accelerator that can provide you a very powerful unit that can process with a ultra low delay a 4K content up to 2 channels per server. So just imagine, assuming that I will go back to, I don't know, MPEG-4, for example, I can do from the test that we did so far up to 16 full HD channels utilizing H.264 with the ultra low delay. Okay, it's not necessarily you can process enough services using the CPU, but if required and somebody is looking to get and achieve a ultra low delay in terms of latency, we are having the ability also to install the accelerator card in the server. And lastly, the ASI interface that here can come as well with 1, 2, or up to 4 interfaces in and out for each one of them. A typical unit, this specifically is a TX unit. In a second, we're going to switch to a RX unit. As you can see, left to right, we have the very top on the left side, modulator card, which is the NS10 that can accept IF and L-band in the input. Of course, we have all the other stuff that related for transmission chain. Next to it on the right side, you can see a SDI. This specific card is have 4 ports. The reason that we have 5 of them, the first one on the right side is usually serving for sync, genlock, or whatever you want to call it, in order to synchronize the Fusion to the entire ecosystem of the client. The third card next to it, in this case, you are seeing the accelerator card, the GPU board that we are using in order to process the low delay for H.264 or HEVC, as I mentioned before. Below that, we have an external port which is built in on the server that give you the ability to manage this server out of band. That's called the ILO in HP. On other platforms, there's a different name, but it's work exactly the same. Of course, we have the ability to provide a Fusion with a dual power supply. The default is a single power supply, but of course, you can specify to the relevant order to get it with a dual power supply, or you can purchase yourself, since we are talking about a standard server from the shelf, and just add a secondary power supply at any given time. Beside that, we have the 4-port built-in 1 or 10 gig ports for each one of this server that give you more than enough capacity in terms of throughput that you need. And as I mentioned before, same apply like the Extreme. You can combine and mix each one of these interface to be management, input, output, public, local, anything that you can imagine. The RX unit is very similar, but the card, as you can see, is different. That's our NS20 demodulator that have a F-type for L-band coming in from the antenna or from the LNB, receive the content, and again, you can process any type of services, decode up to 4 or 8 channels, depends if the card have a 4 or 8 interface. We also have an empty slot here that you can do whatever you want. You can place the ASI card interface if you want to work with ASI, or you can even place another SDI interface if you wish, and you will have the ability to process more than 4 or 8 channels that exist. Of course, if we are talking about a standard SDMP2, you will be able to do more than 8 channels. On HD, it's a bit tough since we are talking about the CPU and there are some limitations. The current UI that we have on the Fusion looks as the following. As you can see, on the top, you have the tabs that describe the functionality on the Fusion. Here, for example, we are seeing a Fusion encoder. Okay, so left to right, we have the encoder configuration that basically what you are seeing in this case, you are able to take or extract any input for the Fusion to be processed. Then you have the encoder control that start and stop the engine depending on the number of licenses that you purchase. That can be from 1 up to 8. Assuming that you have 8 engines, you can process up to 8 channels and do whatever you want in and out. We are not limiting for specific codec or something like that, like our competitors, for example. Okay, it's a fully open. Once you pay for the engine, you're getting all the capabilities of the Fusion in and out. Beside that, we have very nice Muxin capabilities that will give you the ability to create a mini MCPC. For example, I have 2, 3, 4, or 8 single services coming into the output. I have the ability in the Fusion to combine all of them to a MPTS and send them over as a single transport stream to be delivered via satellite, IP, ASI, ZXI, SRT, or whatever. Along with the other stuff under the management tab, you can see a log file configuration for management and some other stuff. Of course, if somebody wants, I will be more than happy to do a full demo. Okay. What we are working at the moment is to introduce to the Fusion what we seen before on the Extreme. That should be in very soon, I hope. The new EMS that will give all the goodies that we have on the Extreme into the Fusion. So in essence, you will get the exact same dashboard, same capabilities, same UI, same look and feel as the Extreme into the Fusion. Okay, this is currently in process. It's in development. It's not working. So assuming that you're going to purchase the Fusion today, those days, or any other client that already have the Fusion for the last 2 years, still using the old UIs. Once we'll have it and it was tested and everything will be okay, of course, we are going to announce to our clients that there is a software upgrade and all of us will be able to provide you the upgraded to the new UI, so you will be able to enjoy again from the state-of-the-art GUI that we have. A few words just to summarize what we just discussed. All of you, I guess, from the broadcast industry, so you are quite familiar with what we have on the market. As I see it, the Fusion is a unique solution in the industry market. I think it's one of the very few as of now in the market that can decode and go all the way to a baseband level up to 8 channels on SDI. Of course, the Extreme can work in a contribution or distribution mode. It can support all the way from 420 to 422, 8 and 10 bits. So that can be served for contribution and distribution if needed. Since we are Novelsat, again, that's the only IRD in the market that do support the LS4 modulation, which is a given. And lastly, it's the most versatile server-based solution that exists today in the market that can do encoding, decoding, and transcoding at any given time. And that's very important notice that I would like to focus on, just for you to better understand in a click of a button, since we are talking about the software environment, I can change at any given time the Fusion from encoder to decoder with less than 25 seconds. Okay. Again, if somebody is looking to get some more information, looking for a full demo, I will be more than happy to schedule with you and show you these capabilities. But all you have to do is just to go to the management page, go to upgrade, load the new code, the new software, and within 25 to 30 seconds maximum, You just change the encoder to decoder. Again, pure software based, full flexibility, give you the ability to maximize the capacity, not likewise the old legacy boxes that change from time to time because we move from MPEG-2, for example, to MPEG-4. The client need to purchase a new box. From MPEG-4 to HEVC, client need to purchase a new box. This is not the case here with the Fusion. With 2 clicks, you can change the entire unit to be whatever you desire. Second flavor of the Fusion for this session will be the Fusion DSNG. What we did is basically we took the beauties of the Fusion and the great capabilities that we already have and wrap it all together to serve also the DSNG track that we have outside in the fields. Since we already have the capabilities of transmit and receive, we took them, combined them together to a single server, and provide the ability to utilize encoder to process the content and modulator to send the content to the relevant endpoint. And beside that, we thought what else can be done and what other great features we can provide to the operators in the SNG tracks. Basically, I'm not going to go all over this list, but just to give you a few highlights, the Fusion can encode and decode all the way up to a 4K in a HEVC, of course, MPEG-2, MPEG-4, all the other codecs that exist in the market. Probably beginning of next year, we are going to also start and work on the new codec that's going to be announced in the market. Probably some of you already heard of it, the BBC. 420, 422, 8 and 10 bit, anything that you can imagine, all the type of IP or protocol encapsulation in terms of RTMP, ZXC, SRT, HLS, or you name it. All these beauties goes together to a single unit that can be installed in any DSNG. And the extra feature that I just mentioned are the following. We have a 4-point operator monitoring that in theory and basically supposed to provide a better environment to the operators in the SNG tracks. The monitor of the encoder incoming signal processing, just for him to understand in a blink of a second what is the current status from the source that he is receiving, what is the current status for the processing of the transport that he is sending, what is the current status of the transmitter or the output of the antenna, assuming that you have a sampling port, and what is the current status on the satellite on the receiver side. Okay, how does it look? Into the UI, we have another web page that basically show you a preview for each one of the engine that connected to the Fusion at any given time. As you can see here, you have the source, a post-processing, a sampling point, and a satellite return signal from the satellite. Assuming that we got the content from the SNG track, we send the signal over to the satellite to be downlinked by the teleport. On the same antenna, usually the track receiving the same signal from the satellite. So in essence, the operators using the element manager will be able to receive and transmit the exact same content that he's using to distribute to the satellite. That was the second flavor of the Fusion from this family. And lastly, we have what we call a Fusion Encrypt. Fusion Encrypt basically is something that we invent not long time ago due to the more demanding in the industry. Some of the people or broadcast providers still utilizing the old Bismode 1. And as you know, this can be easily hacked. Just imagine one of the operators that left the company as an example, provide a BIS code to his friend provide it to another one, and then it's running in the internet and the channel is widely free to air on the satellite. What we did is basically we took the freedom of the EBU new standard, the BCA, we wrap it together to a standalone box in order to provide to the clients that doesn't willing or wish to upgrade their system and replace all the encoders and all the decoders to support the new standard of the BCA. How does it work? In essence, you are getting a box that we call encrypt. You're taking any type of content that you wish. You're using your own encoder. The encrypt accept MPEG-2 transport stream, encrypt the transport stream with the BCA. Then you're gonna send over to whatever medium that you decide the transport stream. On the other side, you will get another box, which is the decryption, that will do the opposite, will accept the MPEG-2 TS encrypted, decrypt the transport stream. You will be able to use the current decoders that you have and do the last mile on a baseband or whatever you wish. Another good example, in order to have a full managed system that supports a BCA, we have an NMS that supports the encrypt. The NMS basically will give you the freedom and the ability to manage all the takers that you have outside. In a way, all the takers that have an IRD that is authorized or unauthorized to decrypt your content, you will be able from a single system to decide at any given time who will be able to authorize or unauthorized for the content. Beside that, you will be able to get the ability to use the encrypt for decrypt any type of BCA that's not processed by Novelsat. Since this is a standard, any type of content that's being encrypted with BCA, you will be able to decrypt and send it over to the remaining workflow that you have. Few more slides. How does it look? Very similar to the Fusion. As you can see here, we have the encryptor module that have at the moment 2 different transport streams. It can be IP or ASI in and out, doing whatever it's necessary in order to encrypt the transport stream, send it to the output. On the output, you will get the program and a list that you can add additional list of private keys that basically translate to a demodulator on the other side that the client need to provide to you. Assuming that is not in the database of the encryptor, the client will not be authorized to receive the content. Each one of these boxes, the decryptor or encryptor based on the encrypt can do from 4 up to 8 channels on a single box. Again, this is not required from you to replace your encoder or decoder. It can support out of the box. The EMS can give you the ability to manage the scramblers or the receiver for a large deployment network. For example, if I have a large distribution of hundreds of takers, it will be much more easier to work with our EMS that give you the ability to manage and provide nickname for each one of the units, and at any given time to add or revoke the entitlement for each one of the takers. And that was it.
Thank you. It was a wonderful presentation. I think you don't have so much time for a Q&A session, but you can ask one question to our speakers.
Okay, so most of the questions were already answered during the presentation. One question is what are the last question that was asked? What are the types of encryption supported by Fusion? Itzik already answered it. Maybe you want to repeat it, but if not, the other questions were already answered.
I can repeat in a second, but as you mentioned, I already covered it. The Fusion at the moment support all the type of the BIS that exist in the market, including the latest BCA. On top of that, we do support what we call the MCrypt, which is a proprietary Novelsat DRM.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I had some questions, but we can ask them in the next Tech Days, I hope. Thank you for your time. Aviv, Itzik, Mor, and also Israel. We are happy to host you here in our Tech Days. Değerli katılımcılar, bir teknoloji günlerinin daha sonuna geldik. Katılımınız için çok teşekkür ederiz. Bir sonraki oturumda buluşmak üzere.